Hey, here's Alex again with another fun topic on our new environment that we have installed. Remember, we have here, that's the test container already running. We have an Oracle 23 AI free database running as a container on Podman on Windows subsystem for Linux, just for fun and see how it performs. And it performs pretty well. So we have installed on top of that a barebone Windows Siebel environment. Just a quick recap. So that's barebone installed here on the Siebel folder, SES, the works. And that's a full Siebel environment running on top of that database already. So here's the deployment hierarchy. Of course, it's not much. It's an enterprise, a Siebel server, and an AI. Of course, there's one thing missing. That's a migration application because, well, we have this, container-based test environment, a Siebel test environment on another database on the same machine. So we can start learning and playing around with migration scenarios. How cool would that be? But of course, we need the migration application on both environments, actually. So we start with the barebone dev environment, and then there's the future test environment. So here we have our profiles, and for migration application, you create a migration profile. First, I've already created this, and let's check out the settings. So you would just clone the existing sample and then find your REST endpoint. Now that's super important. That REST endpoint is of course for the environment which you connect, which you run the migration application on. So that's my development environment REST endpoint. You can always do a very quick test for the REST endpoint. If you run it from the browser, it will practically do an anonymous get, and you can do something like something that's probably available in a vanilla environment is the account data. So you go /data /account, that's business object, business component, then /describe, and that should get you, literally get you something. And if it gets you something like this, OpenAPI 3.3.0, then you have a valid REST API. So this is a quick test, of course. So you have enabled your REST API correctly. The EI object manager is running because the Siebel migration application runs entirely on REST, and it can do basic authentication against that REST API or single sign-on. Let's do basic authentication for now. That authentication type is for the migration application. So you connect to the migration application using basic authentication or single sign-on. So basic authentication it is for us. We didn't have any special logging requirements. The timeout I typically set to 10 times higher, so it doesn't time out all the time. Sleep time is fine. That's the time between fetches, when it fetches the status of a running plan. Then you have this application name for data administration, which actually at the time of recording 25.12 is pretty much obsolete. It allows you to click a link in the migration application to get to the now defunct migration rule view, but you still can fill it in. So it's supporting links in the migration application. That's embedded, as it says here. And then we have the migration package location. Now you could leave this empty, and if you leave it empty, it would just point to this environment's file system migration folder. So mean by this, of course, is the file system I have here for the development environment. So there's a migration folder. It creates that on first run. So in this environment, some migration has been run already, but this folder will be there, will be used if this is empty. Now, if you fill this in, of course, this folder must exist and you must have privileges, permissions set up. So I'm using podman volumes test SFS migration because I have made a slight change to my containers, to my test environment. So I want to be able to share this folder between the two environments on this machine. So one is barebone Windows, the other is running on a podman machine. And the file system is mounted, as you recall, from setting up the containers. So for example, if I have this SES folder here, well, somewhere here, there's the mount point to the folder. So let me just find this. It found the volume actually. Okay. So this is a volume we no longer use. I can actually delete it, yeah. So I used this in the first demo. These volumes are on the Linux machine, that is the podman machine, for performance. But I found out that it's hard from Windows to get into these folders. Lots of permission issues, etc. And so I moved this volume out to a plain Windows folder. And that's my folder name now. So podman volumes, keep things straight for later. And here's the folder, and I've migrated, literally copied over the folders from the existing podman volume. So this is a new podman volume. And as a result, I had to use different mount volume instructions on my machine. So I removed the machines and reran the machines with this here. So you can see from inside podman, you refer to the C drive as /mount mnt/c, and then you go forward. So that's the mount point for the file system now for these test containers. And the migration folder in here, I use as the migration package location. So whenever the development environment writes a zip package, it will write it right into the migration folder for the test environment. So I don't have to manually copy it over. That's convenient for asynchronous and also super important for synchronous migration if we make this happen. I'm not sure about synchronous migration with the self-signed certificates here, but if we achieve asynchronous migration, it would be just great. So let's save this profile, and now let's deploy the migration application. So you go to deployment plus migration, and you must deploy it on the AI external Tomcat. So that's why I use port 443 here. And you choose your profile as you do, check deploy, and enter the name of the migration application, typically something short, and submit that. It's very fast, typically comes back in a few moments, and now you have the migration application deployed, and you can now connect to Siebel/migration. So that's enough to get there. And you can log in with a valid Siebel user. This is using the REST API against Siebel, so the EI object manager is fetching the data you see here through the Siebel REST API. So we have 0 connections. So let's start with the connection to the dev environment. And you have to provide the REST endpoint to the environment. So we need definitely one connection tile for the dev environment. This is a source environment, dev or DR, design repository. If you specify a target environment later, you have to fill in the database information here for the target database. But we have a source environment, so this is sufficient, and it goes green. Green cloud is good cloud, active cloud. And just a side note, this is 2512, and yeah, look at the services. So you might be used to screenshots or your own environment where this is actually 2 services missing. And yes, Oracle has deprecated the application data service and the application data service with transformation. This story will definitely unfold later, but now we have in this database, we have an active ADM project, which is fine. So let's create us a migration plan to test, give the test, kick the tires. And so I call this, well, let's be bold. Let's run a full RR export. This will take a while, but it's worth it because we can actually use it later to import it into the test environment, and so it becomes a RR database, a runtime database, because now it's a copy of the dev database, and that's an interesting transition. So you drag the dev environment. Dev is always a source. You will never use it as a target. Then we select the runtime repository data service, which also selects the other mandatory services. You can't unselect that. Schema service always has to go with a full export. This is non-incremental, so if it doesn't say incremental, it's full or non-incremental. And the application workspace data service, that's at the time of recording handling the list of values exclusively, the workspace, the application data that is workspace managed, and that's the repository data that is workspace managed, and the mandatory repository data that will also go with it, but not the design repository data like bus comps, etc. And the schema service will of course extract the current schema. You could also choose for full export the file prepare and deploy, but we don't need to transport files right now. So save this. It's used only for export. That's okay. And now we have a plan. We can go to execution and, well, click run. And let's create a package folder name using today's date. And you can select the workspace, that's main or any integration workspace, and the version. So of course we only have main 0 right now. And click OK, and it should kick off. So once you expand that, you see it's not started, but clicking any of these action buttons will refresh any of the lines. So we see it's already successfully done a few things. The schema service will probably take the longest. The repository export, the full seed export is done by now. You can see it jumped to success. So let's see the log file. It works. It's working. So it's kicking off the services as we speak, and the services kick off these command line utilities against the source and export. Here we can see the list of values was exported. Let's quickly check on the repository. That's busy exporting tables. Yeah, that's fine. And the schema service is busy reading indexes and stuff. Okay, very nice. So this is a full RR export, and we are running this for, well, testing our migration app, and it's fully integrated with the Siebel Dev environment as it seems to be. And when it's finished, we should have in the target migration folder, there's already a zip file I created earlier. Let's get rid of that and also those test files. That's just I was playing around with permissions. And that in that folder, we should have the zip file, this full RR zip file once it's finished. So let's keep monitoring the situation. Of course, I will pause the video recording until something exciting happens. Well, nothing exciting happened so far, at least as far as I can see. Yeah, still running. But I had the idea to just use the time while this is exporting to go to the test environment because it's up and running. I logged into the SMC for the test environment. Notice the enterprise is test. And let's create a migration profile here and deploy migration app in that test environment. So you can see it again. But of course we have to use different REST endpoints. So this is of course going to run inside the containers. I'm going to use SAI. Sorry for that. I have to actually get the machine name. So we can use testsaicompany.com. That will be the safest. And we have to use 4430. That's the port these containers have. We have Siebel v1.0. So that's the endpoint internally. And we increase the timeout as well. We select the application. And for the package location on the test environment side, I choose empty because it should go straight into its own file system migration folder to look for the packages. So that'll be submitted. Use a different name. Oh, of course, yeah. Missed the name, sorry. Submit that. And now let's deploy. So that's a deployment against the test enterprise. So we're using the AI machine with the profile. Same name. And let's see. Submit. It's green. Okay, so we should be able to connect using a URL like that. Okay, there's the migration on the test environment. Let's log in. And we are logged in. Okay, great stuff. You don't wonder that there's no connection here because this is a different database. This is the test database we're looking at. So we have to create a new connection here. So that'll be the test environment, and we can we have to use also the internal URL. Let's see if that's true. And we have a table database schema owner, that's Siebel, the table spaces. Gotta look them up. Oops, okay. So we have the Siebel data and Siebel underscore index table space. So that's just required for the schema service, but of course important. So it has the correct information. Let's click OK, and goes green. So it has connectivity, and that is wonderful. So we can, of course, run, theoretically, if everything goes well, we can run the full RR import here. So let's see what the development environment is up to. Oh, it has just completed, as it seems, the runtime, the repository export, but the schema export still running. So we'll probably take a few more minutes here. So in the meantime, we can create a migration plan for import, full RR import, and the test environment will be the target, of course. So that's definitely an asynchronous thing we do now. We could try synchronous plans, but I'm not too sure if the certificates work out, the self-signed certificates. So I go with asynchronous. And it's using the same three services. So we save that import plan. So we're ready to execute it when, of course, the time comes and we have a full export ready. So let's check one more time, still running. And yeah, so I could try to create a connection here. Not sure how I would do this to the other side. Okay, let's skip it. And I'll pause the video until the full export is finally done. Okay, so yeah, you just missed it. The full export was successful, so I can still see it in the history here. And yes, we have a zip file in this folder. That's very nice. And let's check out here. I've already, I can see the zip file from the container machine, from the test server, and also from the AI. So let's check the AI server as well, because that's what really counts. So let's do, yeah, so you can see the zip file from these machines. So that is now available in the storage location from the test environment. So that was, yeah, quite a comprehensive video. I'll stop it here because it showed the setting up the migration applications on both sides. And we'll continue in the next video with actually running a full RR migration import and doing all the tasks that are required, do all the things that are required to get an RR environment up and running. So that'll also be very interesting. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.